Want to sit with them?
The audience, we don't care.
Wherever you want.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Let me try. I didn't think about needing three over there. I forgot we had three.
This okay?
They're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get company and listen as long as you want. Oh, what else were we bringing another night on Wednesday too? Oh,
What's that?
$10, so let's call to order the March 4th meeting of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. Dawn, would you please call the roll?
yes, sir. Mr. James Ainsworth,
Present.
Mr. Darren Black,
Present.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez,
Present.
Mr. William Clark,
Here.
Mr. Thomas McDonald,
Here.
Mr. Thomas Rice,
Here.
Miss Norma Yato,
Here.
and Mr. Dave Yelovich, and Mr. Frank Denton.
Present. Record will show that we've got a quorum, and as a matter of fact, we've got 100% of our board minus one. And it would be appropriate to excuse the absence of Mr. Yelovich. He has contacted me prior to the meeting and he had a business conflict for work that he had to attend, so is there a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Yelovich? So moved. Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Item number 5 on the agenda are chairman's remarks, including but not limited to the El Paso Town Hall. And since I was unable to attend the El Paso Town Hall, maybe I shouldn't be the one to make a comment about it. Kevin, Dick, Brandon McDonald, Liz Birdsell, Sammy, and Darren Black conducted that town hall meeting in El Paso. I guess it was last week or week before last?
Last week.
Last week. So Darren or Kevin, why don't you kind of give us, I heard it was a real success. We had some 80 or 85 people show up. Why don't you give us a rundown of what Darren or Kevin?
I think it went really well. There were probably actually maybe 60 to 70 people.
Well, I like to call them.
Yeah. But
I hear you.
yeah, it was
It was a lot better.
right. Yeah, it was everyone was really enthusiastic that we were there. They were thanking us for making the trip out. It had been 2 years since we were last there, so yeah, and lots of really good questions. I think maybe Darren, you can speak to those, the questions we got, because there was a lot of plumbing specific stuff. But all in all, I think it was a great town hall.
Darren?
I would echo everything Kevin has said. Definitely a great turnout. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in the world up there. We obviously have some cultural stuff going on with a lot of questions concerning tests and the ability of some of the individuals that live around that area to be able to take the test in English. So something that I feel like from a board standpoint, we might want to explore and discuss what our options are. And I talked to Lisa about it and she's kind of shared that with me, but I don't know what we do beyond that to help these guys out. So other than that, just nothing like driving 7 hours one way. But other than that, great town, had a good time, and bunch of good people.
You know, I should also add that PHCC assisted us in gathering that crowd, and obtaining the room that we used. And I'll also note, when I said 80, I included the staff to set up the tables and the janitorial custodial staff.
Security officer.
No, I really appreciate the staff going. The only comment I've got is Lisa and I, in the past, she and I have done a lot of these town halls. And I got a text from Lisa who was monitoring it, and she said they don't need us anymore. So that's a pretty good, that's a pretty good endorsement. You all did a great job. It was a good combination, and I think it's good that the plumbers got to see the people that actually do the work on a day-to-day basis and interact with them. So, thank the staff for going, and thank you for the job that you did. Thank you, Darren, for being there. And thank you, El Paso, for being such a gracious host while I was there. It's always a pleasure to go out there. El Paso gets a bad rap. When you see it on the news, you see all this violence and people going through chain link fences. But I want to tell you, El Paso is one of the most beautiful, picturesque little cities. With some of the nicest people in the state of Texas out there. They are just really fine people. So thank you to El Paso. Also on the chairman's remarks, we talked about our progress with the facilities commission. Obviously, we're in our conference room, in our new boardroom. It's still a work in progress. We have some things to do, but at least I don't see any boxes full of junk laying around. So we've got all the boxes out. The center is totally functional. We are doing all exams. UW's walking across the back of the room, and we are totally functional as far as doing the exams and operating the office here. There is still a lot of work to be done, and I'll let Lisa talk about this because she's been following it a lot closer than I have, but there is a tremendous amount that's going to take place in April. We actually are going to suspend doing exams the last 2 weeks in April. And all of the work inside the shop area out there is going to happen in those 2 weeks. There's going to be an office built right out in the middle for the examination staff. Hopefully they're going to put in the air conditioning units, or the cooling units. They're going to insulate all of the walls all the way around the interior. And they assure us that they have got all that material on order and they can get that completed in the 2 week period of time that we're going to be down. So the lion's share of the work is going to be done the last 2 weeks of April in the shop area. Although I will say, and thanks to GW and the staff and all the folks, everything has been operational for some time. We've been doing tests here and exams and hadn't missed a beat. When we get to the numbers, the number of exams and the revenue, you'll see that we haven't even had a blip on the radar screen. And I think that's a real tribute to the staff to keep it up and going, the continuity of not losing any time. So, but I'll let Lisa get into a little bit more of that when we get into her report. Let's move on to item number 6. And Lynn, if you will take the lead on this. Some of you, I guess all of you were here 4 years ago when we did a rule review. Statutorily, we were required to review all of our rules every 4 years. Well, it's unbelievable to me that I think Ron and Darren and Tommy and by the way, did you call Tommy's name during the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like Tommy is here on the video. I'm sorry. We all sit with Lisa and Steve. We all sat in a room and went through line by line, if you recall, every single rule we had. And it's hard for me to believe that time's rolling around again. Let me turn this over to you and kind of explain to us what we're going to do here.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for letting me segue off that recap. So again, we are compliant with our 4-year rule review that was required by the Texas Government Code. And as you all remember, we did our 4-year rule review in chapters. The beginning started in 21 before I got here, and the staff and some board members had gone through and done that line by line review of the rules. And then that grew into our efforts over a period of years, working on the rules, improving the rules, creating more efficient rules. And now we're back at the beginning of the cycle again. We did the last time the rules in chapters. We're going to do them all at once because that's going to create the greatest regulatory efficiency for us. So we're going by the earliest chapter we did. So our next rule review will be due by January of 27. So now we're kind of in the hot spot to kind of start doing a rule study, decide if there are any more efficiencies that can come into place, see if anything has derived up from living with the rules, seeing what our staff and what our industry needs, and decide as we move into our 4-year rule review, how we can make those more efficient and serve us better. Again, the 4-year rule review is required to examine the rules, to readopt with amendments, or repeal the rules according to the government code. So that's kind of where we're going over the next year with the end goal of January 27. Now, that said, and in your meeting materials, you're going to see the calendar of what the rule efforts that we've made in the past, including our rule summary document that shows all the work we've done over the last 4 years. In addition, at the last legislative session, a bill was passed to create the Governor's Office of Regulatory Efficiency. So it's a new office that is under the governor's umbrella. And my understanding is that it's been staffed up and they have begun agency audits. I believe they're auditing right now PUC, TECQ, OPUP, and ARTS. And I don't know what those audits are going to be like, but I can anticipate that by 6 months to a year, as we're going through our 4-year rule review, we'll probably be hearing from that office. And this is a good chance for us to be able to prepare ourselves to collaborate with whatever needs that office may have. That's really the long and the short of it.
So I guess the process, and Lynn and I have talked about this prior to the meeting. Sometime after today's meeting, she will distribute to each board member complete set of our current rules as they exist today. We should, before our next board meeting, go through those rules and come prepared for any modifications that you might want to discuss or talk about at our next board meeting. And the staff will do the same thing with our enforcement and our investigators. Staff certainly sometimes needs more articulate language or less ambiguous language for enforcement purposes. So staff will do the same thing. So on our next board agenda, and help me be sure to include this, we will include a section where we have a discussion about proposed modifications of our rule reviews. One thing, and this is one of the things, and I think we've done a lot of this, and for the board should be thinking about it. Some things in our rules are direct quotes from statute. It's in the statute, and we have generally, Lynn, is this true that we've generally taken that out where it's included in the statute? We don't include it in the rules also. So as they'll be as condensed and focused as they can be. Generally speaking, plumbers are not interested in day-to-day operations of how we select a secretary on the board or things that are internal. That is included in the statute. So as a general rule, we'll be taking things out that are already in the statute and not including them in the rule unless there's an objection. The only objection, I don't have an objection, but a suggestion is this language H in your handout, Lynn, having to do with applicant's criminal history background. That is something that probably we should leave in the rules, even that it's in the statute, because it's a day-to-day, it happens every single day, and there needs to be no misunderstanding that they are required to do the fingerprint. So just a suggestion that we leave that particular one. Any question? And you know, it sounds kind of funny that we're doing, not funny, but it seems strange that we're already working on this. But you know, January 2027 is going to be on us before we know it. So that means we've got maybe 2 or 3 board meetings between then and there to get any modifications done that we want. Well, this was going to be a little easier than the last. The last one was a pretty major line by line work, and those of you who were included in that remember it.
Yeah.
It was a 2 full day, line by line analysis of the rules. So I think the lion's share of that has been done, so. So with no other comments about that, we'll move on to item number 7, which is Executive Director's Report. Discussion and possible action in agency activities. And there have been a few activities going on at the agency, haven't there, Lisa?
Well, I'll say. I wanted to make note today that we have plumbers working on our new set of restrooms at this very moment.
That's that rolling sound you hear behind us,
Yeah.
them rolling materials in and out of
Yeah.
there.
So
I assume they're licensed.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you, DW was on them when they walked in the door. So we're most excited about that. They did the tie-in last week to the sewer and they're gonna be ready to tie the water over, and today we get the rough end done hopefully, and materials starting to flow in slowly that they've ordered. But we do have a lot of plans for what they're gonna be doing during the last 2 weeks of April, what staff's gonna be doing. And the things that, there's a lot of things that we're responsible for moving around. And I don't think there's anything in this building that I haven't touched at least 5 times, because we move it from one place to another. But, it's starting to all come together, and even at I don't know, about 4 o'clock yesterday, we finally had chairs out here. And this room is a long ways from what it started out as, which it was full of racks and junk and everything else, so,
And it's still a long way from what it's gonna become.
right, and we
We're gonna
still
put a
got.
screen over here on this wall that's gonna be a permanent
Yeah.
screen for video presentations and for.
Yeah, we've still got our screen to do, we've still got trim on the dais. There's still a lot of little things that have to happen. But we did get our other doorways put in the hallway, and, staff is just, I tell you what, talk about teamwork, we have a team. Anyway, we're excited about it, and one of the big things that we did get done, we've just about got all of our, and Kevin can comment on this other in a little bit, but we've worked on upgrading the network system that was in this building. And we've just about got all of the different little outlets put in place. I think he's got a couple of more that we've got to add here and there. But one of the biggest things is we got our security cameras up. The entire exam area and all of the entrances where staff go in and out, the parking lots are covered down. You know, we had cameras at the other buildings, and this is a much better system even than we had over there. And, we're real happy about that. It makes us feel a little more secure and a little bit more safe. And then, of course, the examinees, if they need something, we can see them on camera as well as they can turn their light on. If we have any problems, we can document it. So that was a big project, and a lot of effort went into it to get it all done. Oh, gosh, what else are we doing? There's just so many things, I couldn't begin to name them all, but you'll see as we walk around. And those of you that haven't had a chance, I don't think, everybody's seen the whole building afterwards. I'm happy to give tours or whatever we need to do. Would you like me to go ahead and talk about B? Keep going, or you wanna add something to that?
Let me add a little bit something to it. We're still. And I'm not complaining, because we're here and we're not.
Well, I'm letting you do that part.
And we are fully functional. We are doing the same capacity that we had at the old building. And we're up and running. Plus, potentially, we can add some additional stations, probably 4 more. In the future. So things are coming together just exactly like we had planned and discussed prior to moving over here. It's just not moving at the pace that we would love to see it move. But I have resigned myself, and I think Lisa has too, is we're going to just be patient and it'll come together when it comes together. And in the meantime, everything is functional and we're back up at the same capacity, at least, maybe a little more than we were at the other facility. And certainly a lot nicer, and financially, we're in a lot better shape, so, so,
Well, and I have resigned myself too,
yeah, I don't.
be a little more patient.
The other thing that's a little bit frustrating and a little bit of an issue with us is we are supposed to have this entire building. The insurance commission is still, if those of you who go out there are still occupying a portion of this building. And we were thrilled that they started moving some things out this week and last week until they brought a truckload of stuff and brought to deliver here this week. So we're still, trying to apply some gentle pressure to the insurance commission to vacate this space so that we can continue to do the expansion that we want to do. But, again, this has been, slowed down by the facilities commission because the insurance commission is awaiting the facilities commission to build them a spot downtown in their new offices so they can put all this stuff. But it's coming together slowly but surely, and as you'll see from the numbers of people that are licensed and taking exams and our financials, when Dan gets to that, we haven't missed a beat. And I think that's a real tribute to the staff to get it up and going. So, Lisa, if you want to go to, that's all I have on the building, unless the board has got some questions or comments about where we are or what we're doing there. I don't know if I told, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I want to tell it. We had been designated $575,000 to do the renovations that we required over here. The facilities came back with a bid of 800 and something, 870 or $80,000. That has been resolved. We're still only going to pay the 575 that we got allocated. And somehow or another, the facilities commission is going to pick up the difference, on that bid, which that's good news for us. So, so I think everything is in place like we want it to. It's not going as fast as we want it to, but, very few things do in state or federal government, but, I'm for the most part, I'm pleased. I think Lisa's pleased. I think the staff is pleased from where we are.
Well, at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, I still had about 4 holes and a stack of insulation on top of this table, but we got it done.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Okay, go ahead with B.
One of the big things under B, which is personnel changes and staffing activity, we have, quite a few new people. We've got Tiffany. Forgive me, Tiffany, which name do you use? I don't want,
Sanchez.
huh?
Sanchez.
So you use Sanchez too? Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Tiffany Sanchez, she is in licensing. And we have, Natalie Bonet, and she is in enforcement. And then we have, Max Chiochi, and he's gonna be in legal. And we're just thrilled, and I'm gonna tell you, we've searched high and low for team members, and I think the extra effort that we put out this time on finding the right team members, I think we did a good job. And, real happy so far, and Tiffany's came back for about a month now, every day, and, Max and, Natalie came back today after getting introduced this week, so that's a good sign. Usually if they make it the first week, we're home free. So I do still, and I also have a person that is about to start in, that's going to be working on some of the CPE program stuff. And so we're gonna get that person up and running, and I have my eye on someone for lack of a better name, the cyber investigator, which will do the like advertising complaints strictly and that sort of stuff. So we're making some changes in enforcement because, we've got holes to fill. And, but we're excited about it. We're very excited.
Mention this cyber thing. One of the larger issues in the industry are these folks that are advertising on Facebook and on the internet, handymen doing plumbing work and things of that nature. And that will be the 100% focus of this person that's cyber investigator or whatever we're gonna call them. And we believe that we can keep a person busy every single solitary day chasing down these outlaws that are doing unlicensed work or advertising to do unlicensed work throughout the state. We get numerous complaints from people, but it takes a lot to put together a case when somebody is advertising on Facebook. You can't just take the ad, you gotta find the person, you gotta identify them, you gotta ensure they actually don't have a license, that they're not farming it out to a licensed plumber. But we believe we can keep that person really busy and really make an impact on the industry if we focus on just these people that are advertising, they're doing plumbing without a license. So
It's a lot like whack-a-mole, literally.
it is like whack.
But-
It is.
If we can keep them pushed down, that'll make a difference in itself. I really wanna make it all come together, so we'll see.
And that is one of the 11 positions that we asked for in our appropriations, and we obtained it for that purpose. So we're just, it's a matter of us finding the right person to do that job.
And we've got, some other positions that are still posted out on, our website underneath the employment tab. And in particular, I do have an opening for an examiner in Austin and Waco right now. So it's a great job. I'm just looking for the right plumber. And, hopefully I'm gonna find him or her pretty soon.
You know,
And maintenance
and
position.
it doesn't have to be a plumber, they have to be a licensed plumber, it could be either a journeyman or a master.
Yeah.
We've talked about this numerous times before, but it's a great job for somebody who's tired of crawling around on their hands and knees underneath houses and things like that wants a good career with the state. It's a constant 72 degrees year round. There's no crawling around on your hands and knees. So it is a good job, and you're also contributing a lot to the industry itself by examining these young people. One thing that we have talked about and are pursuing, well, anyway, we need 2 plumbers.
And as long as your feet are still good, cause you are gonna walk up a few miles every day. And Juan gets his 10,000 steps in every day. He can outdo everybody, so, and also we still have 2 maintenance positions too, which that's kind of where you help the examiners and you may clean up, you may go pick up mail, you may do, no telling what, hang a picture on a wall, I don't know. But we do have 2 of those, one Waco and, one Austin. So those jobs are out there.
Statutes say that it has to be a journeyman or a master.
It's just a licensed plumber. So it could be a journeyman or a master. I think it does say journeyman or master.
Would not,
Yeah,
would an inspector meet that
no,
requirement?
no,
Unless they have a plumber.
right, it says plumber license. Pretty sure. We asked about changing that and that didn't happen.
You know, when we get to this Doge thing that Lynn had talked about earlier, there are some efficiencies that could take place. And I hope that we'll have an opportunity to offer some suggestions for some statutory changes that might make it easier for us to do our job, as well as the rule that's, they're talking, there's something counterintuitive about the government, the way they operate. We've established this Doge, this government efficiency agency. Isn't it just like the government, to eliminate bureaucracy, you add another layer of bureaucracy in order to eliminate? There's something counterintuitive about that to me. but what do I know? But at any rate, this new agency is gonna come in and don't get me wrong, we are gonna cooperate and I applaud whatever suggestions they have, and if they're good ones that we can embrace at the agency, we are absolutely gonna do them. But so many times, I better just stop right there. We're gonna do what we can to comply with the agency, and if they've got some great ideas, we're gonna embrace them and do it, so.
Well, we've also got, one intern that's recently signed up, and that is Rodolfo, and he's not here today. And we're still working through the intern program. Lynn's done some interviews for some of them. They're all law students. And what we did before, it really helped us a whole lot, is we took the ones that were interested in the criminal background and read a fingerprint check, and training so that they could help us stay caught up on fingerprints. And when we had the interns before, we were right, I mean, it was only you're talking about a week of getting your fingerprints, but hopefully that materializes too. And once you get on top of it, you can stay on it for a while. But we've had quite a surge of apprentices lately too, so kind of excited about having interns. I've got staff that is participating in the Governor's Challenge on Fitness called Get Fit. And they actually get a whole day off if they finish the challenge. And I think it's ongoing. When does it end on? Or Lynn, y'all remember? End of the month anyway. But there again, they can go out and walk around this whole building. Eventually, we hope maybe to have a bike walk all the way around or something. And we'll all be real fit. We'll see how that pans out. So, and Ashley Hill, no relation to me, is gonna be our representative at the Governor's Women's Commission. And they do different projects throughout the year, and we have not been able to participate in it in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. But now we are going to, and Ashley Hill, and then also the other Ashley, who's an attorney, Ashley, and I wanna talk about her a little bit too in a minute. So we're gonna participate in that thing, so staff's busy in addition to all the other stuff that we're doing. We're just trying to get back in sync where we have enough staff to participate in some of these other little areas that we previously enjoyed being able to do. We've got our customer service survey. Every other year when we're not in session, we do a customer service survey and we do a staff survey, internal staff happiness survey of excellence. And those two things are kind of give you a benchmark for how things are going, how happy your licensing population is, how happy your staff population is. And we use those whenever we start creating our strategic plan. So once we get those completed, you'll see those, and then we'll do some studying on them to see if there's anything that maybe we could be more efficient, and we'll list that on our efficiencies, as well as if it's something we can implement to make everybody's life better. But the quick link for the customer service survey is it's under quick links.
Yep.
Click on quick links, and then the survey's there, right? I hadn't even had a chance to look. And it'll also go out on a big blast email to all the plumbers, and our complaint customers, complaint respondents, people that request open records. It's pretty big collection of data, and then we prepare the numbers on it. So in a couple of months, we'll have all that
Questions.
laid out. Sir?
Prepare the questions.
We prepare the questions, but there's also items that you're required to ask, such as, you want to know how much of your population has internet. You want to know how much of your population has ever visited your facility. What do they think of your facility and accessibility and those things. So some of those things are required. And then we added some items into it, that we wanted to know about. Such as, and we've done it before, but we're doing it again. another look at the electronic license, putting it on your phone. And kind of phasing that in. So we'll see where it all comes.
What is the timeline on getting that done?
We usually have to have the report done by the end of April. Typically, I haven't even seen any.
So pretty quick,
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah, we usually start on it, about February, see how things are going. I've already done one. We had an error come out on our staff survey, so they've got to send it back out. But just what I saw on it, it looked pretty good. I was thrilled with how happy everyone seemed, but they've got to send it back out because they missed some of the email addresses. It's done through UT's program at UT.
Okay.
And ours, we do it and then Kevin does a really good job and it does a lot of the calculations for us and then we'll determine the open questions. You know, we leave a space for to add just comments and stuff and we go back through those. I'll kind of see which ones are the most important. It's a good look at things anyway. Your current number of licensees, I was gonna tell you that Mr. Denton mentioned that we hadn't really missed a beat, and we haven't really missed a beat. And I'm gonna tell you, getting up and running and doing exams in December and getting numbers calculated through the end of January and that sort of stuff. And at the end of January, I could tell, we'll call it by February 1st, because that's kind of where we start putting everything together. The end of the quarter is February 28th. So we'll rerun these through the end of the quarter, but we're constantly looking at numbers to see where we're at and money and all that, and kind of see how it balances out. But when we last spoke, we ran numbers through the end of October. And so your warm bodies were 72,141. Well, at the end of January, which is entering the end of the second quarter, your warm bodies are 72,450. And believe me, we feel that. And we feel the number of exams, we feel the number of apprentices, and it's a good thing. So your total licenses, the last time we spoke, were 100,000 or 292, 100,292. And that was at the end of January. Now you're up to 100,522.
Is that in our board book? Cause I'm, the only
Yes.
thing I've got is October.
No, you should have both. You have two.
It's the next.
I think
Yeah, there's a second page.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, so it's there. And then when we rerun numbers for our performance measures, which will, matter of fact, they're probably popping out about right now. That'll give us a really good feel for where everything was at the end of the second quarter, which is February 28th. So it's just, everything settles by about the 4th or 5th. Whenever we take a look at those, so, it's a good thing. And of course, the exams, those reflect all that as well, and I'll talk about that a little bit. I do want to mention that we are expecting some graduates from the accelerated training programs that are offered through Woodville High School. And I don't know how many are coming. I've got to talk to John Bunker. They had a get together last night at their school district, which we just couldn't go to with everything going on. But he said that he's got several that are about ready to graduate out of the two-year program. So we're real excited about that. We'll see how they do. And they'll be coming end of May. And we'll work it out where we don't interfere with their graduation from school, because they're graduating from school and they're coming to take the exam all at the same time. So they got just a little bit of pressure on them. But they're tradesmen, so it's pretty exciting. And if I need to, we'll make a whole day of it. But it's coming together soon. As
The
far,
other thing that I point out on this, license and registration, look at the jump in master plumber between October and, January 31st.
that's your 2 years.
In a large part, that's because of the statutory change which allowed journeyman who had held that journeyman license for 2 years to go ahead and test for the master exam, rather than 4. So we had a couple of hundred, new master plumbers just in a very short period of time. And the reason I've looked at it, we think it's in correct correlation to the new law that was, passed this last session.
When I ran the numbers to look at, just to see, let's see, make sure I start put both of them together right there. 211, yeah, and it just continues. Eventually, we're gonna hit some kind of little plateau on that. But every time one of them becomes eligible, it seems like they put an application in. I don't think there's a day goes by that I don't get something that says, yeah, I'm gonna be eligible next month. So they're watching that day and getting ready to go and studying.
I will think, and I believe. And when we get to the testing portion of it, Lisa and I had talked about this, how is the pass rate gonna be effective for those who've been 2 years, 4 years? And when we get to it, we'll look at it, but I actually think the pass rate was higher on those that have taken the master 2 years than those that took it 4 years. Am I right about that, Lisa?
Yes, we started out with when we went to the computer base, we were hovering around 50% all the time, went to about 53. The 2 year came up and they hit about 60%, so they jumped way up.
Yeah.
And they're starting to settle back out, and right now they've settled back down to about 54%.
But still higher than it was.
Yeah.
Before.
So it's just right there, but you can tell the difference in it whenever you look at it on a real tight graph with the numbers. But there is, right now, there's 211 of them that are signed up. I mean, it runs constant right now. I mean, there's no reason to not try it. Not every one of them is gonna become a plumbing company. But if you look at the number of RMPs right now, I mean, there's so much work out there, and you and I know this, that the grass is always greener on the other side. Till you jump over there for a while. But in October, there were 8,952 plumbing companies. And as of the end of January, there's 9,083 plumbing companies. So, and each time somebody gets a master license and then gets an RMP and then gets insurance, I mean, that's all work, that's staff getting stuff done, and that's them working on it themselves too, so. The possibilities are endless as they keep going. We'll have so many plumbing companies be unreal now. It's like, I don't know about their staff, but it's
Well,
never
it's
ending.
Don's not to say, if someone becomes an RFP, they're gonna need apprentices, they're gonna need tradesmen, they're gonna need journeymen, so they're gonna draw more people into the industry, so,
And that's where we think we're seeing this happen. And some of these newer companies, that's where we're feeling this impact with a little bit more apprentices that we've been getting. And, fingerprints to be reviewed, and it was kind of a little surge there, and it's full circle. But it's exciting, it's good. It's very good.
I think it's gonna be really important that we get the vast majority of our work in the shop here done and get fully staffed before May and June. Because not only do we've got 60
60
other
of
high
them.
schools that more than likely are gonna have some graduates coming out of high school. That our numbers for the practical exam should peak a little bit in May and June. So I think from a urgency standpoint, we really need to get busy and be at full capacity by June. And I realize that's not totally under our control. But we need to keep that in mind, because we don't want to backlog.
And we're staying right on top of it right now. And I don't foresee it happening. I think if everything goes in the perfect world, we'll stay right on top of it. We're running between on various dates and depends on who reschedules, but 8 to 10 every single day in Waco. And as long as we stay 12 to, and then try to get to 15 here, I think we'll meet it. It's gonna be tough, but we'll get there.
You know, and from a macro standpoint, we have in place the infrastructure. I believe, in my personal opinion, the board may view this differently. I think we have the infrastructure in place to accommodate us for at least the next 10, 12, 14 years. If you take the Waco testing facility, you take the expanded Austin facility, the planned Harlingen facility, which is still a reality. We will have 3 testing centers doing practical exams in the next, couple of years. And that should, with the virtual unlimited capacity of Pearson View to take the written exam in 60 or 40 different locations across the state, we should never find ourselves in the position we were in a few years ago where we had a backlog of people waiting. So as long as we stay on schedule, long term, I believe that we have the capacity in place to accommodate the growth of Texas in our economy going forward. So I think we made just the right moves. I think our timing is just right.
Yeah, if we could get if we could get 17 to 18 per day, I mean, you'd never be behind, but we don't have, we don't have the space for it yet, but we will. We've got space. We just don't have the stuff there. But if we stay around 12 and I can get up to 15 pretty soon, then we'll graduate, maybe peak out at about 17 or 18. I think we'll stay there.
And my gosh, you talk about adding a Harlingen the same size of
Yeah.
Waco, and that adds even additional capacity. So I think we've done just the right thing. And our partnership with TSBPE has been critical to us, and their commitment to us has been good. Darren, I guess, did a town hall up in Abilene, and from what he tells me and what, that is a first class operation up there they have put together. They've got a plumbing program that is just outstanding. And the labor unions have just given us a steady diet through their training programs throughout the years. They have remained constant and grown, I assume, over the years. So we, I think, as an agency, are doing our part to stay out ahead of you, to make sure that there's not a wait time or to come in and take those advantage. So with the labor unions putting out a steady diet of people needing to be licensed, with the high school programs coming on, with I think TSBPE in it itself has got like 500 people in their plumbing program at all 3 locations. They now offer plumbing in Abilene, Waco, and Harlingen. And I think all total, they're up to about 500 people. And I would remind everybody, when we first started, when we first contacted TSBPE, they had 13 people 4 years ago in their plumbing program. Some of you remembered, you went up there with us. They had 13 people in the plumbing program. So,
And they've revamped it and added in new things to their program up there too, and it looks very similar to what they were doing in Abilene, and it's top notch.
I just love it when a plan comes together. And I actually think it is, between the private sector and the labor unions and the educational institutions and the state agencies who are responsible for doing it. So
And right now, there are all combined, all the different exams, and I ran this at the end of February. Well, I ran, let's see, I couldn't go all the way to the end of February. I ran it through the end of December in the first quarter. And we reran it And we've got that little over 1,099 scheduled of all different things, all mixed together. Between here, Waco and Pearson, there's 1,000 that are about to take some exams.
Within what period of time?
And that is within, December to February. So we went ahead and ran to the end of February because it shows us who's scheduled out through the end of February. So there's 1,000 of them, and there's still some spots open in March. So I don't have what's in March, but there's still a few spots in March, not a lot. April is open, but it fills up quick. But there are some people that do some rescheduling. I had 248 rescheduled, and we had a few no-shows. No, I didn't have any no-shows.
Where are you now, Lisa? You
On the Pearson page that says exam activity summary.
That'd be tab, what, 3?
Let me see. What's your tab? Yeah, you're in 3. And there's one that says activity summary. And then the performance is there too. But the one that I'm looking at says exam activity summary at the top. You see it? And anyone that was rescheduled or needed to be rescheduled or didn't make it during the freeze, they've already been redone. They've all got back in here. There might have been one that was still fiddling around, but those have all been taken care of. So March is full. This is through the end. This was through the end of February when we ran it, but you've got additional ones that have been added since into March. But I know Dawn looked in there and April was pretty much open by now.
You know, one thing I'll point out, I had to ask the question on the exam activity summary. If you look at the journeyman, you've got journeyman practical 242 appointments. And then right below it, you've got journeyman practical retest, 1 of 3. And where was that?
And some of those are the journeymen that come from tradesmen, we call them, they're tradesmen to journeyman practicals. And then you've got apprentice to journeyman practicals.
Right. That's the point.
Yeah,
I'm trying to-
That's
why there are 2 different lines.
Yeah, there's 2 different lines and you can see on the comebacks basically, or on the failures, whenever you go over here, it says the same thing. When you look at the performance summary, you can kind of tell that the tradesmen to journeyman have there's a difference there because they've already taken it as a tradesman. And so whenever they go to take the written, it seems like they just bounce right through it.
Is that the one that's got an 88% pass rate versus a 76% pass rate?
On the summary?
On the, exam performance. summary?
Yeah. There is where it says JTWO1,
Yes.
that's the journeyman written, that's an apprentice to a journeyman. And then there is, let me make sure I do this right. That's the tradesman, journeyman to tradesman to journeyman. And then there's the JWO1, which is the regular journey.
So it makes sense that the rate is significantly higher for those moving from tradesman to journeyman than those from apprentice to journeyman.
I mean, they've already been out there doing it and they've already had a license and I'm suspecting, I mean, once they get that tradesman license, they probably get thrown out there by themselves a little bit more and kind of have to sink or swim. And by the time they do the journeyman, they're ready to rock and roll.
Lisa, can I ask a question? You said a while ago, going from tradesman to journeyman practical. There's not a.
No, not, they don't take the practical, they already take the practical.
The writ.
The writ,
Yes, ma'am. I'm just not using referring to practical,
Yeah,
practical test.
and I may have misstated that, but you're right, yeah, they don't take it, yeah.
The journeymen have to take a practical test. Is it the same test that the tradesmen you're taking?
No.
So we're letting the tradesmen take.
It has a change of fixtures. It's the same components, but the fixtures may be changed around. It's not anything that they can't do.
No need to bring in.
Right. But now, there is, there's as we change back to get things up and running, there's always some little something that gets thrown in there. That by the time you're at that journeyman level, if you see a wash machine drain in there, you shouldn't shock you. You shouldn't be shocked on a tradesman with a washing machine drain. And really shouldn't get too shocked at a journeyman with anything by that level. So periodically, and as we might have a code change or something, we may throw a little something in there too, so it's not the same all the time. But the tradesman, NGW can tell you, but we talked about this the other day. It seems like the biggest shop work seems to be a little bit of an issue. I mean, rough-in's always gonna be an issue with the tradesman, but seems like shop work, you almost have to stay right on them when they're out here.
I'm just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously we've got apprentices going to journeyman.
Mhm.
So the ones that are going from apprentice level to journeyman practical, because they got to take practical one time. So those guys, what's the success rate between apprentice to tradesman as opposed to apprentice to journeyman? If you don't mind, if you could sure.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's it's broken out on the practical, but I don't have it broken out on by house or shop necessarily. That's kind of a manual thing in the house or shop, but it's all lumped together in the practical. But it goes in spurts too. We just it seemed like we had a string of overconfident tradesmen like didn't quite make it. So we're kind of reevaluating that whole situation. But there again, you gotta remember, some people, they may stretch those hours out a little bit, and when they start failing a whole bunch, we question. And we look at that hour sheet and we say, and we may call the master up and say, you signed off on this, are you sure? Because they've just struggled.
Lisa, the other thing that I would like for you and the staff to take a look at. Ever since I've been here, we've had some of these exams who are always 100% pass rate. And if it's always 100% pass rate, I question whether or not we either need to give a test, or is the test we're giving too simple?
Typically, it's because you only had one, or you
It's
had,
low numbers.
yeah, they're low number exams.
But take a look at this, and I'm assuming we are required to give that exam, or we wouldn't be giving it. Is that correct?
Because you bring that up, for instance, the water supply protection specialist exam. That's one of the exams that they can take at Pearson. And the demand for it's not always real high, because technically the things that they do at TCEQ as far as customer service type inspections, and the inspector can do that. But then customer service stuff can also be done by somebody that has the WSPS that's on their journeyman license, but there's just not a whole lot of demand for it. And, but there are people that like to have every single endorsement, every single license.
And I get it,
And
I
that's what it's
understand
about.
that, and appreciate it.
But yeah, that's a license. Yeah.
If we've given tests now for years and years and years, nobody's ever failed to. Either we don't need to give them a test, or the test is so dang easy that we need to take.
Yeah, I don't think that we really have anything that's like that.
Okay.
Because when we went to, and in particular on MedGas, MedGas, it definitely has a variable in it. It's not too easy. People say it's too hard. even with those that have taken the ASSE. The taking
Well,
the
that's another
60
that's
10.
also jumped up is those that are holding med gas.
Yeah.
That's, and I think a lot of that was the work that the labor unions are doing, training them, and that's allowing.
With
them
the
to go ahead and take
60
exams.
10.
So you've seen those numbers, jump up actually too.
Yeah, WSPS, it comes and goes. The fire sprinkler, multipurpose for the houses. We've actually had quite a few calls about it recently, so it may become more of a thing again, too. There's more and more people that would really like to put the life safety system in new houses. It's not required in a new house. But there are a lot of people that I think seek a plumber out that says, can you do this? It's not required in my house. I'm building a new house, but I really want this. So it may jump on up again too. And a lot of that has to do with, insurance prices, I'm sure, because if you've got the life safety system, at least maybe it won't burn all the way down. And the insurance company may be more happy if you have it in a new house, even though there's nothing saying that you gotta put it there.
You know, it's just looking at it, if I'm reading this report right, exam performance summary, the last page, the overall pass rate for all exams is 66.
66.
Right? Is that right? And the lowest pass rate we have is for the German med gas, which is 48%.
Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. I don't think we have anything that's too easy or anything that's too hard.
Yeah, I'm not displeased with that kind of pass rate. It should be a test. It should be.
If it gets,
Stuff before you pass it, so.
if it gets up and stays around 80, that tells you that something's leaked out somewhere and you need to make a change.
Well, and I'll tell you,
That's the truth of the matter.
our new program, well, on the written exam, especially on the master, this ability to rotate questions in and out, I think is a really positive aspect to it. No one now can go in and say, all right, the first 10 answers are A, C, A, B, C, D, because we rotate them around and mix it up. So, this is a more accurate, reflection of their actual abilities, capacity.
And because we use some of Pearson's software that they utilize to schedule exams for their written, we use a portion of that software and we've kind of manipulated it between us and them to schedule our practicals and to control some of this data in a collective type situation. We're happy because we're able to print some reports rather than doing a lot of manual work, which you can have errors in manual stuff. You can have errors in computer if the data wasn't put in right, but keeping it collected in one format is kind of is an efficiency as well.
I'm gonna bring up something here and I'm gonna jump ahead. This might be for a future, covered under a future board agenda item. I've talked about this for a year or maybe 2 years now. But I still would like for the staff to come up with a way that we can track where these applicants are coming from. Whether they're coming from Tyler High School or Woodville High School or TSBC or somewhere else or from the labor unions. So that we can check the pass rate, not just the overall pass rate, but the pass rate that's feeding us those applicants. And I know it's not gonna be done by the next board meeting, but I would ask the staff to give us a report of what has to happen in order to make that happen by the next meeting.
I will try my best because I have to talk with HPC
And that, I understand.
and I've got way other projects ahead of it.
I totally understand.
I've talked with them before, but I will have a meeting coming up with them and we'll discuss it again.
Because I don't know how the board feels about this. But I believe that if we've got a high school that's sending us applicants over here and they've got a 30% pass rate, they need to know it. And we need to report back to them, and we need to tell them to fix the curriculum, quit sending these folks over here unprepared. And the same can go for TSTC or anyone else. And unless we're able to measure their success rate, we can't give them feedback.
And we can tell where they came from and what school they went to. We just can't run a report.
Well, we need to figure out a way that we can monitor how well these schools are doing. And I know it's a big undertaking, and I know it's not something we do ourselves, but I would like for the staff at least to tell us what's it gonna take, how much is it gonna cost, and realistically, when can we get it done? That, or do you find,
I would. TSBPE.
Next year, $40,000.
Students get placed.
absolutely,
So I would think that they would automatically be able to provide us that report through their organization, or would they?
No, they don't have that data. Well, I can tell, if a person came from Woodville, I can tell you they came from Woodville. And we can manually keep all of this stuff.
I'm talking TSTC.
that,
TSTC has nothing. They don't interact with our programs. So they
you know,
don't.
that program is tracked with Texas Workforce Commission, not by TSTC.
Right.
So I'm not even sure TSTC knows, there's a 5-year lag time from the time the student gets their job and the time the money comes back, TSTC, it's over a 5-year period. So that would be difficult to do, but we could do it, and I don't know. Gosh, you know, I'm a neophyte when it comes to technology, but I know it can be done.
I know, and it can be done. You and I've talked about it before. It's when it comes to projects with Versa and HPC and working with 7 other agencies that use the same program. You get in line and it's kind of a hurry up and wait, and you get your most important items fixed first. And not to say that this isn't very important, but if there's a group of people that come, we can tell you if they, and I'm not picking on Woodville because it's just, I talk to Bunker all the time.
Yeah, he's very involved. Right?
Yeah, if they're coming from Woodville or they're coming from Collin County, community, I can tell you where they come from because we can see that. It's the extract from that particular field of where we have to put that data, that's the bird. And so you're gonna add a new field where you're gonna enter this data that's gonna be more easily to extract, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Did you have a query on the?
Where it is right now, it's hard for them to extract.
Just wondered if there could be like a query button on the application itself. On it, before they submit the application, that basically designated TSTC a high school program or a trade school.
That's all part of the 7 agency application process.
So we got.
Let me have my meeting with them and I'll talk to them about it again.
Lisa, cause I'm.
I will.
I can't think of anything too much more important than a student spending 3 years in high school learning the wrong thing and showing up over here not being able to pass the test. That's pretty darn important to me. And I think we have an obligation to give feedback of how well they're doing. And if they're not doing well, we need to tell them, you need to fix your program and fix it bad, because you're doing a disservice to these students.
And when I get 3 of them that come, or however many come, I know that they're coming from somewhere. Then their instructor will call back and say, well, how did they do or whatever, and we kind of go with
I
that
think we
way.
have it anecdotally.
Yeah, but I know,
we need
an
to-
actual report, no, I don't, yeah,
Well,
I'll work on it.
next board meeting, let's put on the agenda, give us a report on what it's gonna take.
Okay, I doubt that I will try to get them to give me a cost. What I have to do is put it all together and then they have to put their little thing together and then they submit it over to the technical people and then it's kind of like dealing with TSTC. TFC.
It could be that bad.
I'll get you price. I'm gonna bet 40,000 somewhere in there. I'll look.
Well, unless the board feels differently, I think that's really important that we,
We wanted to do it for a long time and I think Dawn and I looked at this multiple ways. And if we're gonna do it, we wanted to be able to utilize it for more than one thing, so. I think when we create some of these new fields, we might be able to even add some extra things in there and get it all done at one time. And we've got, when's our next meeting with them? It's coming up. Maybe at the end of this month, I'll ask them.
I think it's next week.
Next week, we'll ask them. And we'll see what they can submit.
Okay.
And what's still on my burner with them too is the electronic license and some additional stuff to show on the website.
Are you at a point we can take a 10-minute break?
I'd love to.
Is that all right? It's
Even though we're-
it's about 10 minutes after 11. Let's take a 10-minute break and we will reconvene.
Oh, I'm back on enforcement.
Thank you. Make sure it's back off there.
I'm at, tab 4.
You're down to enforcement,
Yes, sir.
be item number 8 on our agenda. Excuse me, I'm sorry, number 9.
And the sheet that you have there under tab 4, it tells you about the number of applications that we've reviewed and approved and those that we've revoked and such like that. And you'll see that in, December, January and February, we had 89 applicants that were reviewed. And, 45 were approved, 13 were denied. Some are pending, needing some additional information. And we had 2 that were revoked, denied or revoked. And those denied and revoked, those include ones that were denied due to a background, but they may also include ones that were revoked by operational law, where they became incarcerated and we could not renew them. So we've had a few of those of late. But I wanted to make note that our new attorney, Ashley, that's doing the enforcement cases, she's done a great job. She's cleaned up all of the pending SOA requests for denials and renewals. So there's nothing left from 24. There's nothing in 25 that hadn't been docketed, so we're in 26 renewals and denials, or whatever the case may be, where they've asked for a hearing. And there was actually 14 total that were docketed, different types of cases. 10 of them were people that had criminal backgrounds, and 4 of them were, cases that haven't been heard yet, but they're docketed. And or one of them's about to be heard, and those are plumbing type cases. And so you'll start seeing soon some of those cases. And we did get back 2, I think we're waiting on about 4 of those that should have some PFDs pretty soon, some proposals for decision. However, we're waiting on the exceptions period to pass, so they have a right to do exceptions if they need to, and or we would. And so we're pending on some of those. So you're gonna start seeing an item pretty soon where we're getting these cases rolling again, and you'll be asked to make some decisions based on those.
That's really, really important. I appreciate Ashley's diligence in cleaning that up.
I'm gonna tell you, she's put her head down and she's going through those cases, and we're getting there. And we put Chelsea over in enforcement, is doing the processing of them. And we kind of got it set up to where we got a little review routine again. And hopefully the whole mechanism will start rolling again really good. I've had staffing changes, different people move, everything else. But you do have a couple of cases that will be on your next board meeting, so.
Lynn, would you, for the benefit of the board, since it's been some time since we've really had some activity in our enforcement, would you walk us through the exact process from the time that we file a complaint against a plumber? Then they either resolve it, or if they do not resolve, they take it to SOA, and they have a hearing and have to make a determination. And from that, it comes to the board whether or not it's favorable or unfavorable. Is that correct?
Well, I think you just explained it, but yes.
Well, won't you do it? 'Cause you-
Sure, of course, of course. The 2 kinds of cases we see, coming from SOA are criminal history denials, which we've talked about a little bit, and then ultimately ones deriving out of complaint. And ultimately the complaints are sent to our field reps who completed an investigation. The enforcement division will then look at the reports that are generated from the field and determine if there's enough evidence to support a potential violation. A notice of alleged violation is then sent to the license holder or the potential violator. And then they can request, they can either accept the determination and pay the administrative penalty or face the administrative penalty and accept it. Or they can request a hearing before the State Office of Administrative Hearings. And in that case, Ashley, as we just talked about, will docket the case at SOA, which is what that is called. SOA will hear the case, listen to witnesses, collect evidence, and they will issue a proposal for decision. And then the proposal for decision is passed to the board. As y'all probably well remember, the SOA judge does not have the legal authority to actually decide the case. So the proposal for decision is handed to the board, and the board has the legal authority to decide the case. And as you recall from some of the cases we've seen in the past, you receive a reasoned findings of fact and conclusions of law with the judge's analysis. And then the board will read that, and in open meeting, they will make a final determination of the outcome of the case.
And that proposal for decision comes back to the board regardless of the outcome, whether it's favorable or unfavorable. Is that correct?
Yes,
See what a better job you did than I did. Thank you.
of course.
Lynn, does that process, after that, there, would only, next time we could ever hear would be a year later, is that right? Or am I-
For a criminal history denial, if someone's denial is final, and a final order has been issued in the case of a denial of an application, then they have to wait a year before they can reapply.
Okay, just wanna make sure.
Or another option, if they choose to, they could appeal our decision to the district court here in Travis County if they chose to, or they can just wait a year. And
we do have two right now that had requested SOA that decided to withdraw their request and just wait the year out. Cause they just really jumped the gun, is what it amounted.
anyway, since it's been a while, Lynn, thank you for doing that. Since it's been a while since the board handled these sole cases, it's a good refresher for us, so thank you. Go ahead, Lisa.
And you've also got, some cease and desist here. And on these cease and desist, sometimes these might be used as in the case of the, people that we were talking about earlier, that maybe they advertise, maybe they had a website offering or something like that. Sometimes these cease and desist go hand in hand though with penalties. And, but it's a good tool that we use to say, we told you so, because we keep the cease and desist, and if we find that person again, then that's just a tool to say that they've been noticed before. And there's no action needed on those. They're things that we do internally. I sign them and we send them out. And if we send it with a penalty, then they get the two items together.
Do these go out? I noticed all of these are dated one date, that they went out. Is that customary, or do you usually do them when you get them, or how does that work?
We do them in groups. We actually have multiple meetings, and it's the meetings are grouped together, and I think I put that sheet in there too. I think I put it behind the criminal sheet there.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we do them in groups, and the easiest way to do it is to say, okay, here's 6 cases, they all need cease, desist, they all need notices and penalties, and then you just go through them and produce the paperwork, enter the data, put it out together, mail them.
So you batch them together, and that's when I get one date where they're all at the same time.
And you may get something that's a higher priority complaint, and we may pull it out and go ahead and do it, so once in a while, you'll see something that has an odd date. Most of the time, they're in groups.
And if I remember correctly, there's no action necessary on the part of the board, this is just for our information.
Yep. Just for your information.
And are there any questions about any of these cease and desist orders from the board? Before we? Okay, if none, go ahead.
The next item that you have are the penalties that were imposed during those case reviews, which may have also included the cease and desist. But these are people that chose to pay the penalty, didn't wanna go to SOA, no contest, paid it, and they're all listed as to when they paid it. The last page that you see, and this one's pretty big. As I said, we've had some staffing changes, new people doing different duties. The last two pages, you'll see there's a previous violator report. And, those individuals were, there again, are back on this first penalty page and they've chosen to pay. But depending upon what their penalty amounts are, depends on what all they had. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular, 1, 2, 3. You look at the second page, you'll see that that's got a pretty extensive list with a pretty big penalty right there. It's because this is not his first trip around.
He's also on the first page.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's made all three sections basically, but you'll see the penalty amount there and it was paid.
I'll
And,
tell you, his name is Brian Barnes. I'll pick on him.
okay,
He's
Yes,
a
sir.
previous violator.
and he had some suspension issues, he got it paid, he's released now, and we had a little discussion, so to speak. So we'll see if we can stay out of trouble for a while. But whenever you take a whole page up that's just yours, that's not good. So. Anyhow, these do require you to sign these, Mr. Denton.
And
Do I have the last page? Missed the page.
any name that's got an asterisk beside it has had a previous violation. And when you flip back over to the last 3 pages, previous violator report, the amount shown on there should be less than the amount shown on this one. The amount is ratcheted up if it's a violation for the same offense.
Of a similar nature, yeah. And you may have something where this is the very first time they never got a permit.
Yeah.
So you might not see it ratcheted up, so to speak.
But for the most part, if they're caught doing the same thing twice, it's never less than the last time that they were penalized. I mean, that's why that previous violation is there.
And something I wanted to mention, and of course, it's not on this one, but it'll be on the next one. And it'll either become a SOA case or it'll become a paid penalty. The no settlement.
For unlicensed.
Unlicensed individuals directive that you did here a while back, or whatever you wanna call it. There is one case coming up on that and we'll see how it all goes. And I believe it's a new job site monitoring. I don't have all the particulars on it yet, but it's occurring as we speak.
So the action we took at the last meetings, which requires a mandatory non-negotiable penalty, is it $4,000 or $5,000?
It's $4,000.
$4,000 for employing an unlicensed individual on a job site. None of those are appearing on this one. We
No.
got one in the works. So,
And and you know, I'm a little bit short on field investigators, but those, and they try to balance doing complaints with going out in the field. But you also, your directive includes any new complaints that might come in where that incident occurred too. It's all if you employed somebody.
right.
And I've been working pretty close with enforcement lately because I'm shorthanded, so, and I'm trying to train some new people back there. But it's real important whenever the complaint comes in initially that we focus on determining who actually went out there. I mean, you can have a huge company but not know who went out there, so you've got to get that right up front. And so we have language that helps kind of track that in a little better way. We started using again, so. Pretty excited about it. Anyhow, so, yeah, you're actually going to make a motion and sign this order, not me.
Board members, are there any questions about any of the agreed orders that are
Yeah, just get there, so.
listed here in this? Board back today? If there are none, is there a motion to approve these agreed orders and also authorizing me to sign on behalf of the board?
I so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are you gonna do the defaults?
No, Lynn can do the default.
In your materials is the default order schedule reflecting the default orders that need to be approved by the board. Again, default orders are actions that have been pursued by the board and the parties involved have simply not responded to the agency. They either didn't show up to their SOA hearing or they simply didn't respond to the NOAV. So this is the moment for the board to take default action on those final orders.
And I need to sign those, is that correct?
We'll do a motion and again, you have the authority to sign on behalf of the board.
Refresh my memory, we send a default order out. And this is just someone who just has just thrown their pre-order in the trash or just hadn't responded to our inquiry. What is the status of their license at that time? They're
After the default order,
default.
ultimately for applicants, they simply won't be granted a license and their application will be finalized, that will be closed. Anyone with outstanding administrative penalties will have to pay those penalties before they can be renewed.
That's where I was getting to. If you have a default order against you and you've not resolved it and you come up for renewal, you're not gonna get renewed until you resolve this outstanding penalty. Am I correct about that?
It has a built-in hold on the license. And the point that the built-in hold kicks in, it kicks in when they've already passed the due date of the administrative penalty before it even goes to legal.
So we don't have any plumbers that are renewing a license who've got an outstanding default order against them. We can be confident of that, is that correct?
I feel like it, yeah. We catch them and the hold goes on there.
Board members, any questions about any of the default orders that have been issued? Looks like quite a few of them.
Did we approve the default orders as presented and authorized the chair to sign? Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, I will sign on behalf of the board. Lisa, are you done and ready for financials or?
There's an item number 10, if we want to talk about it. We went to a veterans job fair and handed out some postings, hoping to maybe get any veteran and or a veteran that might be a plumber. And I think legal went to the University of Texas at Austin Public Service Job Fair. They handed out some postings. We were looking for legal people. And Kevin, Lynn, and who else went? Michael went to DIR's AI day. They had a big AI day with different things about it. And here a while back. And so we wanted to make sure that we attended that. It was an offering that we certainly didn't want to refuse. And speaking of, we've got some training we're gonna send you eventually about AI too, that we're required to give the board members. That's coming up, so. Staff's always busy.
Lynn, do you have, I read something recently that the controller's modification of the hub program, making it unique to veterans versus historically underutilized businesses was challenged. Does that have any effect on our agency in the interim while that lawsuit is pending, or do you have any information about that?
I don't have any information at this time. I may have read a headline about the same thing, but I can certainly follow up.
If you would follow up on that, I'm interested to know, I guess that we've got some other contracts that were invalidated when they did that. But now that apparently someone has challenged the controller for modifying that program. So I'm just interested to see if it had any effect on our agency. If you'll report back to us on that when you get a chance.
And we've got several hub vendors that we've used for years, and some of them. And we've been looking at some of the vet vendors, and we've always looked at veteran vendors too. And, but I did get a little blurb about that as well.
I just didn't know if it affects us in the interim while this litigation is taking place or.
Yeah, they're still approved vendors. The majority of them are still approved vendors, and whenever we purchase from a vendor, we've got to reach out and double check that they're still an approved vendor anyway before we buy anything from them. So we haven't had any effect that's stopped us in our tracks of some particular purchase or anything like
Okay,
that, but
all right.
we've been kind of watching it.
Okay. Whatever.
Jan,
All right, Dan.
Good times. So, agenda item number 11 was the board financial report. And on the first page, on the first table, it shows our FY 26 appropriations from the General Appropriations Act, along with transfers and expenditures for the first 6 months of FY 26. And then the second table shows the same information, just organized by accounting category. And after 6 months, we've spent a little bit under 38% of our budget. We have some new hires starting, I think Lisa mentioned, or actually have already started. So we expect to see our expenditures increase for the second half. And we expect to spend all of our budget for FY 26 by the end of the year.
Let me ask a question on that first page. The first line under the analysis of estimated budget less year-to-date expenditures showing that we spent 44.4% of the salaries and wages. Does that include the salaries and wages of the 11 additional FTEs that we received this last legislative appropriation? Or is this just our base FTEs prior to that?
That would include everything, but we can kind of move those numbers around a little bit. So if we needed more salaries, we could adjust it from other columns up or down. So I think we're pretty good.
it's not everything that we have for all, it's, the 11 are included in there.
The 11 are included in the $2.9 million, right?
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the salaries for the 11 additional employees are included in the 2.9 million.
Yes.
Yeah, it's never enough to pay for all the people they give you. But by the time we hire some of them, we should be.
I guess
Fine.
my question is leading this way. We were authorized to move 11 additional FTEs back in September of 2025. And we're in March of 26. And to my knowledge, we've not hired those 11 people. So those 11 people's salaries that we're authorized to spend has not yet been spent. Am I right?
Correct, and there's two of those people that we're not gonna hire. This year, the ones for Harlingen,
Okay,
those
that
were in
is
there.
true.
Yeah, those are in there and we're not gonna hire those, and last time we weren't able to hire them either, and we gave just that portion back last time.
Okay, so really, we're talking about 9 additional FTEs
Yeah.
this year. Dan, is this about where, from a budget standpoint, is this about where you would hope that we would be?
Oh, yeah,
Or-
they all are.
Well, sure, I'd say
They're
so.
the nine.
You know, about 38%. So I think we're in pretty good shape, I'd say, for this, for after 6 months.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Any more questions on the first page? The pages 2 and 3 has our revenues and number of licensees by license type. Then for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. And then on page 4 has our revenues collected for the first 6 months of FY 26, along with revenues going back to FY 21. Our FY 26 exam licensing and registration revenues were around 2.3 million for the first 6 months. As compared to about 2.1 million for the same time last year, so that's an increase of about 131,000 or 6%, so we're ahead of last year by about 6%. And our admin penalties were about 159,000 for the first 6 months of FY 26 compared to 160,000 for the same time last year. So that's a decrease of around $1,400 or 1%. Are there any questions? Revenues?
You know, again, I think that's pretty good when you take into consideration, we've had a move and some downtime and a lot of construction, and our revenue is still up 6% and our expenses are 12% less than what we're budgeted. So in my simple way of thinking, that's pretty good.
We crack the whip around here.
Do I?
We crack the whip around here. We don't ever stop.
You know, the one thing that I was encouraged, and I can't put my finger on it right this second, but I saw it earlier, that a number I was glad to see down was the amount of penalties for late renewals.
Oh, yeah.
And that is encouraging to me, which means that people are starting to renew on time. We get no pleasure out of charging a penalty for a late renewal. And I was glad to see it was down significantly this year versus last year. So that tells me people are a little bit more attuned with renewing online and getting it done in a timely manner. So,
And the ones that have never had, and I wanna say Brendan's done a great job on this, the ones that have never had an online account and they're cutting it close, or they've gone over the edge and their penalty just went in, and their late fee just went on. If we can work with them, if they'll set up their online account, learn to use it and all that, it's worth waiving a $7.50 late fee. If you can get them set up online.
you know, I renewed my apprentice license that I was late and I had to pay a penalty.
And you know, you and I discussed that,
I know it.
and you wanted to see what it was like being late, if I recall.
No, well, I didn't want, I just did it. But
I knew you already had an
My
account, Frank.
card cost me more this year than it did last year. And she pointed out that I was a month late in renewing it, which I did by myself online.
And you already had an account, so you weren't eligible for any waivers.
I understand, I didn't ask for it. But I just want to point out that my money was part of that. Anyway, I am glad to see that. It shows that plumbers are more focused on their accounts, and that's a good thing. I always am glad to see that penalty amount go down. At any rate, it also, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong about this, so that plumbers understand this. The amount of penalties that we get, or I should say, this goes back to agreed orders. The revenue that we receive from agreed orders cannot be used for our operating budget. Am I not correct about that, Dan? That doesn't go into our revenue for our operating budget.
That's correct. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over on you, but penalties
Well, it
nor,
may be kind of new, Dan, because Dan's kind of new.
penalties nor late fees
Go
become,
into our.
are anything that we can use, yeah. We don't get any pleasure out of those, we don't get any quotas out of those, we
I
don't
know
get
in
any
town
extra
halls
money.
in the past, everybody goes, yeah, y'all are out finding us and, but so you
We get
raise
nothing.
your salary and stuff. We don't get that money. That money goes into a big, deep, dark hole over at the Capitol called the general fund. And it does not support our budget. We can use the amount to assure that we reach the revenue that we were required to reach in order to get our appropriations, but it does not go into our operating budget. Those in penalties and fees and assignments. So, in case there's any plumbers out there thinking that we're handing out penalties so we can buy a new vehicle, we can't use it. So, Okay. Any questions for Dan before we, or Dan, do you have anything else?
Well, that's it.
Is there anything in any of the documents that you supplied us today that we should pay particular attention to, or that causes any concern for you?
No, sir, I don't think there's anything to, I mean, it looks normal to me, and I think, we're right where we should be.
Where we need to be? Okay.
Mr. Denton,
Yes, ma'am.
do what then?
Thank you.
Oh, I was gonna say, Dan is still kind of new. He's been through the one session. He's about to go through the off years of all the things we've got to do, and we're working on an audit. And every stumbling block you could think of, we've thrown at him since we hired him. And, so he's been here long enough now, he actually got a raise and he's well worth it. And we're glad to have him, so.
Every meeting we have, Dan, I gain more and more confidence in you, and when you tell us something, I'm good with it, so,
He's very good.
I asked Dan yesterday about this audit, whether we were coming to a close or in the middle or just beginning, and, tell him what you told me.
I think we're getting towards the end of the field work. You know, they've given us a list of things that they'd like to review, you know, testing of transactions like payables and reimbursements and things like that. And so I think we've forwarded most of the requests that they had. And so I think they've done their analysis, and I think we're kind of getting towards the end of field work.
You know, you might recall in our appropriations, we asked for, I think it was $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to hire an outside auditing firm to audit our operations, our financial operations. The legislature did not give it to us, but they did instruct the state auditor's office to do an audit. And they promptly sicked about a half a dozen auditors on us over here, and have been working with us for 2 or 3 months now. And it's a lot of work, but it's a good thing. It's a really good thing to get another set of eyes to come in and take a look at our financial transactions and our protocols and procedures. And I'm happy to say, if there were anything that were major, they would probably bring it to our attention before the end of the audit, which tells me there's nothing major. There may be some minor modifications that they suggest, and we'll take a look at those at the end. But I would think if we have another board meeting by the end of May, 1st of June, we may be complete with that audit. Would that be?
They may still be working on the audit report, but I think our their field work will be finished by I'm sure.
So you don't anticipate the final audit report by June?
Yeah, it might take them a few months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're done.
But I'll say a really great group to work with. They're, very professional and very knowledgeable, so it's really good experience.
Hopefully we put it on the next.
Any questions for Dan on financials or? Anything else, Dan?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Report and discussion of agency use of information technology, including to Ask Kevin chatbot use statistics. Kevin, do you have our chatbot?
Yeah, absolutely. Ask Kevin continues to do very well. I'm looking at the stats for last week. We had 347 total conversations, which works out to about 69 conversations per day every weekday last week. So we're right around the 70 to 90-ish rate, which is amazing. That's a total of 2,130 messages in 5 days. So continues to do well. Looking at the topics that people are talking about on Ask Kevin, license renewal is number one. Application status, obviously they can't get that on Ask Kevin, so Ask Kevin refers them to our contact page for that. Fingerprint status, journeyman license, application submission, apprentice registration, license fees. Those are the top 10 topics that Ask Kevin is addressing. Did you want to talk about Ask Kevin Plus?
I will.
Okay.
Are you ready to do that?
Yeah.
You know, we we had talked about this Ask Kevin Plus, as a matter of fact, and, the board got a beta version of it, and we did some playing with it. And my original thought, was that, or actually with an afterthought, was to link in UPC and IPC to participate in this project. They have sent us, both organizations have provided us the licensing agreements to sign, neither of which are acceptable. I think maybe it might be my fault, because I think they're anticipating something more than what I had originally planned, or our board and Kevin had worked on. The legislature has authorized the plumbing board to adopt codes. And the codes we have adopted are the 2018, both UPC and IPC codes. Those two codes, since they've been approved by the legislature and adopted by the plumbing board, are virtually readily available on the internet. You can Google either one of them and get them. That's what the information we want to draw from. The licensing agreements that were sent to us would allow us to access UPC and IPC's database or their information to answer those questions. And I don't think we need to do that, because they're one of the organizations, and I'm not gonna get into that, but one of the organizations, we're talking about the 24 code. We want to access the 24 code, we haven't even adopted anything in 2018 code. And that's the one that we were enforcing. That's the one that we're getting information on and answering questions. So I am of the opinion, as Kevin and I talked yesterday, that we should push ahead with Ask Kevin Plus without participation of UPC or IPC at this point. Because the information that we're gonna be answering questions on Ask Kevin Plus relate totally to the 2018 codes of both organizations, which we have already adopted. And that information is readily available to the public, in any event. So I think where we're going with this, until we can figure out a way to work with IPC and UPC, which I intend to do, because I think it's important for the plumbing industry to do it, that we're gonna push ahead with what our original plan was, without IPC and UPC. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to continue to talk with them and try to figure out a way to make up work to do it, but I don't think that we need the level of sophistication that they're talking about doing. They're talking about our computers interacting with theirs and accessing their data, and we don't necessarily want to do that. That stuff that's 2000, after 2018, is clearly proprietary to them. It is not public information. It is private and it's copyright protected. And the licensing agreements they sent us were protecting that property, and I understand it and I get it. But the thing they don't get is I don't want it. Since we haven't adopted it, there's no need for us in accessing it and interacting with them on that stuff that's proprietary. The only thing that we want to interact with and provide to not just the plumbers, but also the public, are the code requirements that are currently in existence today, and that's the 2018 code. So I'm of the opinion, and I may get some different opinions, we don't need a licensing agreement to answer questions about something that's already out there and readily available. And it's been adopted by all the cities and adopted by us. So we're gonna push ahead and can continue to work with IPC and UPC to see if there's some way we can make it better in the future. And that's all I'm gonna say about that right now, but I am gonna ask this question, and I'm gonna ask it because I really don't know the answer, plumbers and staff. At what point and what triggers us to adopt a more recent code?
Can I answer that?
Please, anybody.
Um,
Let Lisa respond.
We're really exceeding our agenda items.
this is all right, this is the future agenda
Okay.
item that I want to discuss. Is what triggers us to adopt a more recent code. So let's put that on the agenda for the next time. I've got a feeling one of our board members has got something.
I'm sure he has an opinion.
But one of the things that we need to do, and we can do it before we have the next board meeting to talk about, and it goes along with what Kevin and I have been looking as far as the codes. We wanted to go out and do a refresh survey of which cities have adopted what year code too.
So
So
let's
we're
cover.
gonna do all that.
Under
Yeah.
future agenda items.
Yeah.
Is for the next time, maybe you'll have time to get that survey done and let's have a discussion about, or have you adopted the appropriate code. So, that's all. Anybody else have anything to say on this?
I guess I have some modest concerns. I would assume that the 2018 information is also copyrighted, so I'm not sure why it is that we have access to 18 and don't have access to 21 and 24.
Well, I can tell you this, I did it yesterday, you can Google it, the whole thing pops
Well,
up.
I'll bet you I can also Google the 24 and find that.
I don't know.
And actually, I know for a fact that I can, so I've just got some modest concerns that I would, and maybe we've already gotten legal involved, but I think it very clearly ought to get legal involved, is that I'm sure the 2018 information is copyrighted.
It is, and everything that they do is copyrighted. But also there is a theory that if we're going to require it. And we have adopted it, can't keep it secret. We certainly have to share it, so. And let me also say this, and I don't wanna get into discussion right now from a legal standpoint, but, it's out there. I see no difference in the Ask Kevin Plus than somebody picking up the phone, calling GW and saying, GW, what is the code requirement for, the size piping for such and such a plumbing system? GW says, well, it ought to be 2.5 inches with a 1/2 inch drop every 3 feet. That's what the code said. That's all we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it in electronic form rather than just somebody calling down and saying. So,
And we've got some other
That's
work
fine.
to do too.
we're running into legal problems when we start talking about licensing agreements and things like that, and I don't wanna do that. If it's out there, if I can Google it, it's not a secret. I'm gonna tell you. We on Ask Kevin Plus, Kevin, you can remember this. We cannot download and copy what we do. We are not gonna sell it. It's free of charge. It's just informational purposes for plumbers and for consumers. So, I believe we're on solid ground for doing it, and we're gonna push ahead to something like that. Network telephone system improvement.
So yeah, I guess,
Cover that.
I was just gonna do a quick IT update.
Okay.
Yeah, you might remember that we were having some major internet outages in the previous location. I'm happy to say in Cameron Road, our network has been rock solid. So that's been a huge upgrade for us. I don't think I've seen one outage here at Cameron Road. So that's really the big thing as far as IT goes. And I think that's all I got.
We're very network heavy now,
Yeah.
more so than we've
Absolutely.
ever been, but I agree, we are more stable than we've ever been too.
And we now have 2 people in the IT department, so that is
True.
and amazingly welcome. Yeah. Christopher Lopez has joined the department, so we're super happy to have him. I'm super happy to have him.
Don, do we have anybody signed up for public comment today?
No, sir.
I didn't see the.
Over here.
Yeah. Mr. Motto, you recognize.
I'll do it.
Public comment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, it's great to be here, first meeting of the year. As far as on IAPMO, and I know we talked about that agenda item, one thing I will say is that we do have the code online readily available for free. Can access them, and you can access 18, 21, 24. It doesn't charge anybody, so I don't know if that could help, but wanted to offer that out
Well,
there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I can't discuss it.
No, but I just wanted to go ahead and put it out there, so that way you might be able to maybe that's some way we can do, we should discuss that maybe when Kevin and I were discussing that, but also want to offer our services, I have no, need anything for training or education, please feel free to call on that, that's pretty.
Thank you, John, as always, we appreciate it. Anyone else for public comment?
Someone did make a comment online. Do you want him to come on and say it, or do you want me to read it?
You can read it if he said it.
Joshua Holub says, by providing code requirements from the 18 codes at the.
You're gonna have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, let me see if he wants to come on.
Thanks all here,
Next comment, right?
so the first one,
King Spring Prince deal.
Tom Wood. Josh Hollow.
Joshua, would you like to make your public comment?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just saying that I think if we provide the 18 codes, I'll just read it. By providing code requirements from the 18 codes at the state level, it could, not that it will, but it could allow for confusion if the public uses this information as an absolute. But the cities or municipalities have a newer revision or updated different information. The plumber is the one taking their time to defend themselves because of information that was provided by our licensing board. And I agree, we need to do this. But we should have some sort of disclaimer for those folks to go back and check local municipality and city, approved codes and amendments. Obviously happy to help wherever I can. And I agree that this info is readily accessible online, but that this AI tool, Kevin Plus, would be a fantastic tool for both plumbers and the public. We just, I think that, there should be some sort of disclaimer for those folks to then, after this information, to go back and verify that their municipality and city is not under a newer code or amended any of those the information that was provided. So, but I do think it's a great tool.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Yep.
Point well done.
Chairman, if I could, Kevin, we got to play with Kevin Plus at the town hall meeting in El Paso. the other day.
Oh, is that right?
Those disclaimers are in there.
Oh, I know they are.
So,
I just wasn't.
We're in public comment right now, so
Oh, sorry. Just leading off what he's saying.
Okay, any other public comment before we close the meeting? Don, anyone else?
No, sir.
Board members, anything? I guess we need to talk about future board meetings. We've already hit upon a couple of agenda items that we'd like to see on our next agenda. And I would suspect maybe the latter part of May, the 1st of June. First 2 weeks of June, maybe.
Well, you've got 4th of July.
That's in July, I'm talking June, that's a month late.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to get past the next, to catch up my performance measure, do a couple of reports, so.
Okay,
Uh,
I don't think we're gonna wait till July for another meeting.
you see,
Let's do this. Lisa and I will argue about that after the meeting.
that sounds good. I'm always up for a good argument. I need to look at the calendar.
It's worth, I'm unavailable June 8th.
June 8th, okay.
Scratch that.
Oh, if it works for everybody else, don't scratch it. Miss it or figure out how to do it or something.
No, I need to look at the,
And
reporting.
Lisa is correct. For
I got
a
reporting.
worthwhile board meeting, it does nice to end the quarter so you can have the full quarter statistics.
that rather than us doing two sets of reports, I'm trying to get us back into a routine with my new staff and new routine.
What she's trying to do is cut the board meetings down to 4 a year, and I'm not ready to do it, so.
I'm, as long as I don't care about the extra ones. I can just have the ones.
I do have a question for you. We kind of went through our reports and stuff with Pearson View. Hate to go backwards on this, but is there a way to get Pearson View reports to coincide with September food, our quarterly?
Yeah, if we can have board meetings at the right time.
But even what we saw today, it was kind of all over the place.
Well, no, we do first quarter, second quarter, and then you do third quarter, fourth quarter, and then I add them all together to get my final statistics. But each quarter, that's my backup for my performance measures. But for instance, it says February 28th. But I had to run it a day before or 2 days before. But it's just for that that period. And so then we add them up as we go along.
You know, I'm gonna tell you, Lisa and I teased each other about this, but she is correct. We should try to schedule these board meetings at the end of a quarter so that we can get a full quarter statistical analysis. But the thing that has always plagued me is when we first started, all of you board members, when we got here, we were in a crisis mode. We were about to be abolished and we had some real issues to deal with. So consequently, we were meeting more frequently than what normally we might. And Lisa is correct. As we become more stable and we become more confident and comfortable in what we're doing, then the number of board meetings will reduce down. So, we will plan on June or July, late June, early July meeting and for our next board meeting, but there's no sense in meeting just for the sake of meeting. And unless we get some meaningful numbers and statistics to take a look at and compare to, there's not a lot to talk about. So,
Yeah, and for instance, when I run the numbers to give to you, I can't run the whole quarter and then have a meeting on that last day. They don't settle till the 5th of the next month. And then I look at everything. So, and the same thing on exams. For instance, a person can't schedule unless they're 10 days out. And so they're not gonna be on the list, even though they may already be scheduled.
okay. You guys know as much as I do about when the next board meeting's coming up, but I don't know.
I'll send you a text.
June, July. Anyone else have any item that they want included, discussed at the next agenda board meeting that was not yet discussed?
Mr. Chairman, I kind of going to El Paso looking at all the field training
Things.
officers that we've got out there being too short on those. I was gonna ask if the board would have open for discussion or where we've been in the past on adding more field reps. Obviously, this board is all about enforcement. So what is our probability of getting new territories established and hiring 9 more, 18 field reps?
I actually have room for a few, and we can talk about that, and I talked about it earlier underneath my job postings. Those are the positions I have open right now.
Yeah, Darren, I think that what you're asking though is gonna require
Legislation,
appropriate.
Yeah.
So,
And I
That's for
understand
next
that.
time.
Moving forward, I couldn't imagine being Sandy having to travel from Midland to El Paso.
Well, we've gotta find someone.
Yes, ma'am.
are we authorized 12 enforcement people now?
Yeah, we should have 12 out in the field.
And we are not fully staffed with the 12 that we're allowed right now. And
No,
if we want to increase that, it'll be a part of the legislative appropriation request we make next.
and
time. I'm
normally,
not against it.
I just kind of want to get that on the agenda and what that would look like on redistricting.
I have the territories, I just don't have the people. I always take more.
All right, anyone else have anything before we adjourn? All right, it is 12:20 and we'll call the meeting adjourned. By the way, we've got some sandwiches and lunch and stuff, if anyone eats, they all need.